Hey Josh, how you doing? Look at that, I managed to get dye all over my fingers. It's going to take weeks to get that off now. How you been, Josh? Looks like it's you and me. Oh, there's 5 people on. Looks like murder, yeah. Hi Tim. Well, my garage is almost submerged. Had a bit of an attack of the winds and the waters, which has left my chair is soaking wet, so I've had to put plastic all over it. Hey Mike, and I don't know, the roof must have 1 or 2 little holes in it. There's always been one hole bang in the middle of the roof, but it's always only been a small drip, and the square in the middle of the room is clear, so it doesn't really matter. So I've never really bothered about it. But either it's got worse, or because of the amount of rain, it's kind of been finding its way around all the way around, and I've got huge patches of, not puddles, but damp patches all over the place. And my chair is soaking wet, and my garage sort of jacket to keep me warm is soaking wet. Thankfully, all the crucial areas are fine. But I'm definitely looking into building a separate shed just for my pipe making. In fact, I've got somebody coming over on Sunday, hopefully, to have a look into that. Not quite sure how I'll fund it, but I've got to make a start. What I might get them to do is just to build the foundations, maybe a concrete slab, and then I'll build it myself in my own time. Maybe. I'm not sure if I'm biting off more than I can chew, but we will try. Hey Jordan. Alright, so we've come to the part of staining and pre-staining. I've earlier on taken off the top layer of the undercoat, and Mike, actually, I'm going to ask you for advice if you can give it. This is where I'm up to at the moment. So the black coating has certainly done its job. We've got a nice grain there. Nice bird's eye on the top there. I need a little bit more sanding perhaps. And just look at the heel. Just look at those eyes. Go fund me, Josh, right? Maybe I should ask Mutton Chop to give me a hand with that. Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. I love that way it's got the kind of the structure around the bird's eye, like the outline, and I don't often get it as nice as this, but it just seems to be perfectly positioned and lined up. It's a very, very nice grain. A little bit heavy on the dark, but a little bit more sanding perhaps. So what I wanted to ask you, Mike and Jordan, is sanding wise, whether to leave this and stain it or whether to sand it back more, because I find that when you get a little bit too heavy with the sanding, you end up losing some of that blackness, and then you lose the contrast, and you want those outlines. So the heel for me is spot on. I just wouldn't mind if the lighter areas were lighter, but if I sand it more, I'm scared I'm going to take away more of the black. And the same here. So obviously you've got more of the softer area of briar absorbing the stain, and less of the light. So if it'd be more like that, obviously it would be stunning, but it is stunning anyway. But here you can see you've got quite a lot of the dark there. Could restain, yeah. Yeah, I think I watched a video which Tom Eltang talks about his golden contrast. And I think he does the black twice, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm not really looking to do more black here. I think I've got enough of that. Well, in terms of the stain, I've mixed up. I've done a little concoction here, which I think is good. So we'll see how that works out. So I'm gonna try. Have I got 1,000 handy? Yes, I do. What does he use the chemical for? To lift the grain. Yeah, you were saying that, Mike, about leaving the second stain on for 24 hours. And I can see why that would be a good thing to do. Obviously that will absorb the same way as the black does, which would mean that I could sand that back again and get a really nice smooth finish without ruining the colour. So that certainly makes a lot of sense. Time is your friend. I guess that's why the guys that spew out pipe after pipe after pipe, like 4 or 5 a day, they don't have time for that. I guess that's why they're burning the stain in and then continuing on. Just going to go gently to start with. Yeah, it's definitely brightening that up a bit without losing too much of the stain. Well, Mike, with all your experience, you can't be too far off the knowledge to make a pipe yourself. You've probably got enough machinery almost to do it as well. Speaking of stems, I'm seriously considering making a new stem for this from scratch. Actually, I think the pipe probably deserves a proper handmade stem. Hey Nat. Ciao Sandro. De Niro accent. Are you looking at me? It's a bit of a cliche already, that statement. Are you looking at me? Thanks Wildcat. I just saw your video and I left you a comment. Glad you got it safely and I'm glad you like it. It's a big relief when I hear somebody say that they like the pipe they've just received. So thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's catching. All right. Oh, it's so smooth, it's so slippery. Stick my finger in it. I'm going to do the stain just to see what it looks like. I may well listen to Mike and sand it back again and do another black and start afresh. We'll see how we go. That's no good, it's 400. My stems do take a filter, yeah. 99.9% of my pipes take a filter. That's the one for this. It takes a filter. Well, wrap up warm there, Jordan. I'm afraid I can't conceive of those kind of temperatures. Thankfully we don't get that kind of stuff here. So we'll give it a stain and we'll see how it looks. I managed to stain my hands red before. It's quite a rich golden colour. But once this is sanded back a bit and buffed, it will look awesome, I think. This is brown, yellow and red. This is a real deep, rich, golden kind of hue. So this is obviously looking very dark now, but once it's dried and buffed, this should look great. It should really bring out the golden colours against the black. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could dry this very quickly, buff it, and it'll be ready to go. But I'm going to do what Mike suggested and leave it overnight, because I think that it might, I don't know for a fact, but I think it might give me the ability to sand it back without losing too much of that colour, but then to be able to sand it down to, because the stain obviously is going to give it a little bit of a texture compared to the completely smooth 1000 grit wood. So it's going to leave some form of a texture, a little bit of a matte kind of feel to it. So I could just carnauba wax it and shine over it, and that's it. But I want to still bring out the grain, so I need to remove some of that. But I only want to do that once it's absorbed, so that I don't lose it when I do take off that top layer. So hopefully tomorrow afternoon, I'm working again tomorrow night, but I might be able to come on again similar time, but I might put in an hour or two in the afternoon, we shall see. So I'm going to leave that to dry. And then what's the time now? 10 to 10. Question is whether I maybe make a start on a stem or start a new pipe. What do we think, people? Or call it a day, maybe. Go inside and have a smoke. Well, that I can do anyway. Remember this pipe? This was one of my early failures, but it smokes. You see, got a big gash over there, and once I got that, I didn't bother shaping it very much. I just finished it off quickly, and it smokes. It smokes very well, actually. Thanks, guys. I think I will do just that. Can you guess what's in it? OGS indeed. It's my pleasure to explore everything. These bottles are useless at pouring out small amounts. Look at that. Have a break. Have a Kit Kat. Here, kitty kitty. Wood turning with your dad, that's cool. Yeah, definitely need to get some pipettes, some eyedroppers or whatever you want to call it. There's no question about that. I've used today. I used something similar, but a little bit crude, which is a medicine syringe. In actual fact, I've got to put this back in the bottle. But I still managed to squirt it all over the place. So it's really not an ideal situation. And what I'm going to do is, if that works out to be a good stain, a good colour, I'll probably mix up a decent amount of it so that I've got it on hand and I'll have consistency in my stain colours. Although you do want to sort of mix it up a bit, you don't want to have the same stain every single time. But I can call that a golden contrast, and that will be my golden contrast. Medicine, yeah. What's wrong with medicine? This is what we use to give the kids medicine when they're not well. To give them precise amounts of medicine. I assume you have something similar in the States. Maybe you call it drugs, I don't know. You should see the state of my leather apron. It's covered. I've got red, I've got black. Got every colour under the sun on this apron. Yeah, I guess so, Josh. The only problem with them is that the action is not smooth, and that's why I ended up squirting a load. It's kind of does it in spurts, and it ends up splashing everywhere. Like that. So definitely need to get some eyedroppers. I might just check that out on Amazon or eBay tonight. And can you just keep it in some of these tobacco jars that I've got, airtight jars. This is alcohol and shellac kind of thing. It's a thin sort of shellac kind of thing, but it hasn't. Tried it a few times, it hasn't really been successful so far. I obviously haven't got the mix right. Actually, it's not alcohol, it's methylated spirits. Yeah, eyedropper is definitely more precise, no question about it. Certainly when you're doing sort of experimentation with small amounts. Hi David, how are you? Long time no see. Hope you're well. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, this is where we're up to. We've put the golden staining on it, a heavy dosage of golden staining. And tomorrow we'll take that off and hopefully be left with a lovely golden contrast pipe. You can kind of see it there. Do you think I should give it another coat, Mike? It's probably got 2 solid coats on there now. Or Jordan. Relax, what's that? Can't sit around with idle fingers. OGS is where it's at, people. Mikey, you need to revisit OGS. Trust me. The thing about pipes is that it can look like a dog, but they can smoke exactly the same as a really expensive pipe, as long as the mechanics are good. You know, a pipe can look like nothing on earth, but it can still be a great pipe. And this one smokes like a dream, effortlessly. I haven't fully broken it in because I've kind of made it, smoked it and put it down. Too many pipes to smoke, I guess, but smokes very, very well. If you remember, there was a time when I was doing these long, thin, shanked pipes, and people were loving them. Might have to get back to doing some more of those. Guten Tag, großer Knob. Großer Knobbel. Well, which means big garlic. This Oerlikon Golden Sliced. Take a little sip, a little sip, and a little retrohale in quick succession, and you really do get that nice tobacco flavour accompanied by that zesty, orangey kind of flavour, and it's really, really good. It's like a cool orange on the retrohale. Mike, when I took off the black, I used the mop to do it. Would I do the same with this as well? I'm just trying to think what would happen. So would the golden contrast also be absorbed in the same places as the black? Would the golden stain be absorbed there, leaving back to gold there? I'm just wondering whether what my next stage would be, Mike. I think I'll go slowly with the mop and just gently take a bit off and see how it looks. At the moment on the mop, I've got a medium hardness kind of mop, but I've got various different ones. My softest one I've got reserved for Carnauba. I don't use it for anything else. I don't want to get any other composite on it or any other colours on it. Very funny. So this is the mop that I took the black off with. So it's kind of a medium, and I used this composite, which works very, very well. And this, I use this one, which is also kind of a medium, a little bit softer. I use that for the stems, things like that. And this one I use for the Carnauba. Now I've got a triple one there, a mop tree, which I bought not long ago, but I don't use it. I just find it's not as good. It's too close together. So you've got 3 mops on here. They obviously flatten out when it's turning. But it just didn't seem to be as convenient as I thought it would be. You wipe it with a cloth with clear alcohol, but I'm just, is that Yeah, Sandra, I'm not touching it. I'm leaving it now till tomorrow. It'll have more than 12 hours. Since I did my my last sort of progression with contrast staining, which was at Mike's urging, which was to leave it overnight. I never used to, because the dyes that I use dry very, very quickly. I used to I used to dye a coat of some, like one of the golden oaks or something like that, and I used to wipe it dry, and I'd buff it straight away, and it would come up really nice. I wouldn't get heavy contrast, I'd get something like this, which is also nice. It's a nice grain. It's not a high dark contrasty grain, but it's nice nonetheless. And that's what I used to do, and then polish it and so on. But I must be honest that this one needs a lot of shaping still, smoothing out, sanding there. But this was the one which I had that disaster with, and I was just glad to get some kind of pipe out of it, and it actually smokes very nicely. So I used to do it without leaving it overnight. I used to wipe it dry and then buff it, and they used to look really nice. But to achieve this kind of stain, obviously there's no question about it that if you have the right kind of if you have the right kind of grain, that it's obviously worth the extra effort to do the contrast. No question about it. This particular pipe that we've been doing today and yesterday warrants the extra work. No question about it. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better positioning on the grain. It's completely bird's eye on the heel, and straight grain, not precisely straight, but straight-ish grain all the way around, 360 degrees almost, of straight grain. So it's literally worked out very, very well. Cheers, Steph and Skip. I've enjoyed it as well. It's great to hear feedback directly whilst you're doing stuff. Where's my high-tech pick for my pipe? Here it is. Sacrilege, I hear you say. I think this pipe could also do that kind of staining. I might redo this pipe, because it's also got that kind of bird's eye, which you can hardly see, but it's got it. It's really a very similar shaped pipe, actually. I might just do it on this pipe, and I might make it slightly more orangey to match the stem. That's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll do that now, actually. Maybe I'll do some sanding while we're talking. I'm waiting. Yeah. Chamber onto the post, yeah. Let me just put this on somewhere else. 1 second. Put the other one in and cut your paper into strips about 1 inch wide and 40, then sand with the bowl on the peg. Yeah, the problem is that the peg, I do that usually in the vise, but I've got a vise which has got rubber coated clamps so it doesn't scratch the wood. Maybe I'll do that with that clamp. What I need to do is to really make myself some of those pegs which are sort of beveled so that they wedge into the bowl. Gordy Skymob, how you doing? Yeah, I've done that with, trying to remember what I did it with the last time. I think I've done that with shanks to try and keep, when I'm sanding shanks by hand, to try and keep a good even roundness to it. So that's what I've done it with, doing it using that method. But I do need to just make some tapered pegs so that it wedges in. You know, the video that either Radice or Costello, one of them, has doing the rustication, the Sea Rock rustication, you see them, you're doing exactly that, where the chamber is wedged in on some form of tapered thing, wood peg, and they're just turning it a bit each time and as they rusticate it. I think by tomorrow that stain is going to be hardened, because the alcohol evaporates and all you're left with is the stain, which originates as a powder, I guess. Well, the overall shape of this pipe is okay. It's just this junction here So I'm going to do that by hand with a block. I find the particular sanding block that I use is extremely versatile. It's very, very well shaped, so it lets you get into difficult areas. But more than anything, it's got this spongy surface, which means that you get a nice rounded, it doesn't cut too sharply. Yes, I'm using an iPhone. That's already looking better on that side. Yeah, we definitely could. I've often meant to ask you for your phone number, but kind of held back. You never know, some people don't like doing the one-to-one thing. But there's many people I've exchanged my phone number with. I figured I'd wait for you to raise the suggestion. Oh, it's on your website. Yeah, but that is not necessarily, doesn't make you always available. People run their businesses off their mobile numbers. On each pipe page, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. Hey Daniel, how you doing? How you doing, Jack? All the best, Josh. Thanks for joining. Good for you, Daniel. Actually, the actual shape and design of this pipe I think is better than the other one, because it's a little bit taller, which really is what it needs. This one's a little bit smaller. The overall proportions, it could have been just done with being another, even half an inch taller. I think would have made a difference. I mean, it's still a nicely shaped pipe, I think, but could have probably done with being just that little bit. Well, we've put the stain on it, which is a golden kind of colour. At the moment it's got a couple of coats on there, so it's really dark. I'm going to let that dry fully overnight, and tomorrow we'll buff it out a little bit and bring out that colour, bring out that grain, and hopefully tomorrow night we should have a pipe ready for smoking or sale, one of the two. Or disposal, one way or another. Oh, this one I'm going to do the same. This is a pipe which I've actually smoked. It's a pipe I made a while back, and I just thought that it had a natural kind of stain, so I thought I'd use this colour again whilst I've got it mixed up on my desk. I've still got some left over there, so I'm going to use it up. Okay, I'll do that. What do you think that's going to do to it? Raise the grain? Is that what you were saying? Okay, we'll see. Always happy to try. Certainly quieter. Yeah, that's true. No question about being wet. And it also tells you where you've sanded. I'll be honest with you, Mike. By the time I'm standing at 600, it really feels very smooth to me usually. I can't say that I feel a difference, if I'm really honest with you. But maybe, you know, it's only the first time, so... 600. Oh, I had some 800 already cut. Glad to be of service, Wildcat. Unfortunately, I missed the Pipe Club of London last night because it was too close to the beginning of an engagement party I had to do last night, so a bit of a shame. That can't be everywhere, I guess. Nice one, Jack. Mike is the font of all pipe wisdom, knowledge, experience to be imparted. Right, I'm not going to spend hours and hours on this particular pipe, seeing as it was already had all that done to it in preparation for its previous use. Now it's probably right in front of me, but where's my stem that I used for staining? That's what happens when you've got a jumbled up, disorganized desk. Can't see the wood for the trees. Well done, Mike. Absolutely right. That doesn't need to be on there for that to dry. Alright, let's get some of the black. Better get my gloves on. Well, I am in the middle of this pipe. I'm smoking some Audit Golden Sliced in one of my shop pipes. But are you talking about for yourself, Wildcat? Shake the bottle. This ain't no child lock, it's an adult lock. Either that or I'm a very young 50. I'll take that. Whoa, that looks good. There's something quite special about a fresh coat of black. See, when you get to this point, I can see the advantage of having a few pipes on the go. Because once you varnish, once you stain, and then you got to leave it, then kind of you're twiddling your thumbs unless you're starting a new pipe. So I can see how it would make sense to just have a system whereby you have pipes at different stages, perhaps. I mean, if you had a bunch of pipes all at the same stage, then you'd have the same problem, because staining doesn't take as long as, say, carving the pipe or sanding the pipe. So now the ideal, I suppose, would be, is while stuff is drying, is to start a new pipe, maybe start shaping a pipe. But I'm not going to do that tonight. I've got so much photography work to be catching up on. Actually, I don't need to be too worried about the staining on the rim because it's already black on the inside from smoking. Well, it looks pretty good to me in terms of sharp edges. I think that little extra bit of sanding has done the trick. I'm not saying it's perfect, but definitely improved it. Interesting about this pipe is that the ring grain, the bird's eye on the heel of the pipe is not as pronounced as the straight grain on the side of the pipe. It's kind of very, very subtle. I don't know why it would be more subtle than the rest of it, but it is for some reason. And it just doesn't pop as much as the rest of the grain. Alright, well that's that. Yeah, that makes sense. Once you're on the lathe, I suppose it makes sense to get everything done on a few pipes. I actually recorded a video this morning. I might still upload it tonight, but I wanted this video to go in sequence. But I've got it ready to go, so I might do it once this finishes uploading. I suppose it doesn't have to be in sequence, and it won't be because of tomorrow. I've got to finish off the stain sort of buffing and all of that tomorrow. Anyway, so this one's going up on there, and I guess we will continue tomorrow. Alright, so that's on the peg. So we've got one on the peg there, one on the peg there, and we're going to close the die and we'll call it a night. So I'm going to say thanks everybody for joining once again. We'll see you again tomorrow to hopefully finish off this pipe, and yeah, we'll call it a day. Thanks Nat, thanks Paul, thanks Mike, thanks Wildcat, thanks Daniel, Jack, Kumar, if you're still there, give me an email and we'll sort something out. My email address is coming up right now. And thanks Tim and everybody else. Thanks for joining once again. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you again tomorrow. Kumar, that's my email address up there, boscopipeuk@gmail.com. If you're interested in that pipe or any of my pipes, give me a shout. I might actually do a video as well with an update of all the available pipes, so we'll see how we go. Nighty night everybody.